All right. Let's see. I don't think we're live yet.
It says live 10 seconds ago on my end here.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's not showing on your end?
I'm just looking at my phone. I don't see anything going on.
Oh,
Oh,
there's
there
probably a
we go.
delay. Yeah, it's probably a delay.
Okay, folks. It's been a while. It's been a while. Thank you so much for your patience. I don't know. Maybe you're not thinking, but I'll let you know. Where did Electric Canuck go over the summer? Just a little
Panama.
bit of YouTube burnout, and now I'm back. I feel good. I feel like a renewed type of thing. I think I'll do a better job. I'll have more humor, I think. But in all seriousness, thank you so much for joining this live stream. We're going to talk about an important topic, which is winter is coming, right? As you can see in the description there. And I know that there's a lot of new Tesla owners. I think, how many cars did Tesla sell last year, Dax? I mean, it was like, what, a million or
6.
something? How
Oh,
much?
I thought it
600,000?
was, no, I thought it was 6, but
Six? No, you're mistaking that for
the Bolt?
the Bolt?
The
The
Bolt.
Hummer?
Sorry, the Bolt. It was a Bolt.
Yes. So so yes, there's a lot of new Tesla owners out there, and we do this every year. I check back, Dax. We've been doing this for three years in a row now, talking
Really?
about getting ready for winter, right? And I know it's only early October still, but a lot of times when we've done this in the past, some of the biggest issues were that, for example, tires have been sold out, right? Winter floor mats have been sold out. So I've moved it up a little bit to maybe help people prepare a little bit better for this winter. But anyhow, my co-host here, Dax, who's you're probably familiar with, but Dax, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi. I'm
Hey,
new
Dax.
to YouTube. My name is Dax.
This
Hi,
is his
everyone in
first
the
video,
chat.
folks.
First video. I'm a virgin. I
Yeah.
mean,
Let's
sorry,
stop
Paul.
there. All right.
Sorry.
That's TMI. That's TMI.
The wheels fell
And
off.
yes, and we are
Yes.
expecting Tesla
Like a
Kev to
beehive.
join us. We are expecting Tesla Kev to join us very soon. He's running a little bit late. He's our tire guy. So I want to save the tires discussion for when Kevin joins. But we still have a lot of good stuff to start with. So the first thing, why don't we just kind of throw it out there, Dax? When you think winter and you think Tesla,
You make me sneeze.
after you sneeze,
Sorry.
Tesla's the key word for sneezing. Do you need a moment?
No, I think I'm good.
You think you're good?
I'm
Okay.
good.
So when you think winter and Tesla, what are the first things that just pop in your mind? Just random.
Winter and Tesla, I think two things.
Yes.
Awesome handling,
Mm-hmm.
but I also think of range degradation.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Definitely. We'll get into more detail on the whole range thing that's coming up in one of
Yeah.
the topics. But I think that's probably a good place to start. And actually, since you mentioned about the range, not the range, the handling, I've got a video to share, right? I actually got two videos to share. And
Oh, cool.
the first video shows what the Tesla's capable of with winter tires. And the second video shows you what the Tesla is not capable of when it comes to just leaving those stock all seasons on. So let me see if I can tee up this first video. This was, I think, the first year that I had my Model 3. And
Oh, nice.
this video here, basically, I'll just tee up what the video is about. So I was on my way home and it was like a huge snowstorm. And I'm like, okay, let's see what these winter tires can do. Let's see what the handling of the Tesla Model 3 is going to be like. And this was the rear wheel drive Model 3. So this one wasn't even all wheel drive. And on the tires on this one were the Pirelli Sato 02s on this, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but it still does quite well. So let's just take a look at the video. Well, first, obviously I'm showing, okay, yeah, there's some snow. I'll just kind of fast forward a little bit. Okay, so what I tried to do here was to just gun it in this parking lot and to see whether or not I could make the Model 3 rear-wheel drive go out of control with the winter tires. And gunning it, you can see that the tail didn't spin. It was quite stable. And I tried this about 3 times. I'll just fast forward a little bit more. Like here's another run at it. And this is like matting it all the way to the ground, right? So I think this is going to tee up. I'm going to show the second video next, and it's going to show what happens when you don't have winter tires. Okay, and that'll tee up our discussion, maybe prematurely about tires before Kevin joins. But hey, let's just go with the flow, right?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Oh, thanks, Keith. I appreciate your comment there. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's tee up the second video. And oh, there's Tesla Kev there. He's just setting up. So you don't want to see him setting up. So, okay, let's watch the second video, and we'll see what happens when you don't have those winter tires on. Okay, let's see here. Let's press play.
Now this is without. This is all seasons.
This is with the all seasons. Okay, so here I'm coming around the corner quite gingerly, and then I'm going to come to. Let me just speed it up just a little bit here. I'm going to come up to a stop sign, and then what I'm going to do at the stop sign, and obviously like there's no one around here. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I just wanted to see, well, what's going to happen if I just hit the pedal. Right, similar to the other test with the winter tires. And look at this; she's like just all over the place. And then you'll see coming up at another stop sign, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, and again, I'm giving it some gas, and again, she was like, just all over the place. So let's pause there and let's just kind of talk about that a little bit. Yeah. So I know a lot of people swear by the all seasons, but I think the video there might paint a different picture.
You asking me?
Max?
Oh, sorry.
You're the only one here so far.
No, but I thought you were in mid-sentence. No, you know what? Here's the thing with the tires. Yeah, those videos, you can it really shows and showcases what the difference is. I'm going to contradict you a little bit. I know it's your show. Don't kick me off, please. But
I got my finger on the button.
Even as you can see there, even with and I'm going to contradict myself right after, so bear with me. But what I'll say first is even with the summer tires, or all seasons, we'll call them all seasons. Basically, they're summer tires. For a car that has that much power, if you think about it, in a rear-wheel drive configuration, that I was pretty impressed of how the traction control and the stability, how much stability the car had with that amount of torque and power. With that said, I still don't recommend. Here's where I contradict myself. I still don't recommend anyone that asks me, new owners and stuff like that, they ask me, should I get winter tires? Absolutely. Granted, we're not like Alberta or East Coast or Quebec where we get tons of snow. We're in Southern Ontario. Let's not kid ourselves. We don't get as much as the rest of Canada. But with that said, we still need winter tires, and they do make a world of difference. All I'm saying is, without it, like if you lived in Vancouver or some parts of BC where your winters are milder, you could probably get away with it. Still, it's the responsible way to do it. You just spent tens of thousands of dollars for a new car. It's still a good idea to pay a couple grand and get some good winter tires. Hi, Kev.
Yeah.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Nope.
Yeah, you sound good. Dax always got to be the joker. Always got to be joker. I'm trying to run a serious show here.
I'm in one of those moods tonight. I'm sorry. You better be prepared.
Okay. Kevin, let me I don't know how much you were able to see while you were setting up there, but I just showed a couple of videos. One with the Model 3 rear-wheel drive with winter tires that I could not make it spin out. I think you've seen that video.
Very familiar with those videos, yeah.
Yes. And then I showed the contrast, which was the Model Y with the all seasons. and how it was just all over the place. So I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Dax, which was essentially, I know a lot of people swear by all seasons when it comes to, Tesla has great weight distribution, great handling, all that kind of stuff. But, I personally think that winter tires are a must, but I'll throw that to you. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. The Teslas are, look, the Teslas will get the most out of all season tires. That being said, you're cheating on both sides, right? For both the summer and the winter. And there's a reason why many jurisdictions actually mandates winter tires by law. Because rubber, it's physics, right? So rubber designed for all season is designed exactly for that sort of middle of the road temperatures. It doesn't do well in the hot and it doesn't do well in the cold, right? They turn into bricks in the winter, and the summer they melt, right? So, and then, for a Tesla, which is really heavy, there's an advantage, I guess, in the wintertime because it makes the tire work a little better. In the summer, all seasons, they get a lot more, unless they're specifically low rolling resistance sort of all seasons, they actually affect your range as well because they get really gooey. When it's 40 degrees out and the pavement's like burning hot, they get gooey too because they're not designed for that, right? They're designed for all seasons. I know I keep saying that over and over again, but it kind of tells you everything you need to know. It's when you have someone who's just a generalist, they're generally okay at everything, but not really good at any one thing. If that's what you want to drive your family around with, I personally wouldn't do that, but again, that's me. But for people who swear on all seasons, I don't actually think they've ever tried winter tires because if you did, you wouldn't swear.
There's a big difference, to each his own, right? But I'm like you, Kevin, from my perspective, I like to have those winter tires. And one of the things, on the topic of winter tires, I do get a lot of questions. That there is a difference between all season and 4 season to Gilio's point there that he just made. So why don't we come back to all season versus 4 season? I know it's a relatively new thing, and I've read about a couple of good quality products. Maybe let me just ask, what kind do you have? Let me see here. Okay, I'm going to show another video.
I bet you he says Continental DWS 6, dry wet snow 6, and if he says that, I will tip my cap to him because those are some seriously good tires. I've had them, and they are not. He's correct. They are not all seasons. They're a different breed. There's not many of them though.
Yeah, exactly. So that could be a compromise that I could get into.
Are those expensive, Kevin? He's shaking his head.
Yes, he's shaking his head.
They're expensive. Yeah, I had them for 2 years on my Model X, and I like them a lot. But I use them as my summer tires because it started to snow and they're still not as good as snow tires, and so I flipped them. I think in December. But I would ride them out. Like I would ride them for probably 9 months of the year, and then just bring in my snow tires. December, January, February, and then throw them back on in March. So you can squeeze it. They are good at making your winter tires last a lot longer because you won't get them in the warmer edges of winter.
Oh, that's right, because they're such softer rubber, right?
Yeah.
Okay, back to what I was saying. Another question that I get a lot is, well, what if you get stuck, in your Tesla in the winter, and how do you get it going? And I have another video for that. So let me just tee up this next one. I do this every year, and it's called the Icy Hill Test. And let's take a look, and I'll kind of walk through what's happening here. This is a very steep grade of a hill, nearby where I live. And from a standing start, I've got slip start on because it wasn't moving. This was snow and ice, black ice underneath. And
this was rear-wheel drive, though, right? Rear-wheel drive?
No, this is my Model Y. This is all-wheel drive. And even still with all-wheel drive, without slip start, I was not able to get this thing going up this hill. But with slip start,
No snow tires?
With snow tires.
Oh.
It was literally, what happened is it was freezing rain and then snow on top of it. It was one of those type of weather bomb things, right? And so it's I think maybe twice in the 5 years that I've owned a Tesla have I had to use slip start. But I found it highly effective, as you can see from the video. So that was kind of cool. How about you guys? Like, have you been stuck at all in your Tesla? Have you had to use Slipstream or Slip Start?
I have not had to use slip start. The one time I started bogging out a little bit in my Model X, it was because the snow was so deep. It was like I was snow plowing, right? So I just raised the suspension to very high, and I kind of took care of it, right? So not an option in the 3 and the Y though. So
yeah. Okay. So as always, like whenever I do any of my live streams, if you have questions, we kind of just take questions as they come in. We try to get to all of them. So don't wait till the end for questions. If you've got questions, just chime in with a question. But let's move on to
Tim has a question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he says Tim too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your opinion on the Tesla winter package for the Model 3?
Is that the one with the new Sato 03s?
I'm not sure, because every time I look at the website for winter tires, I see chains.
Yeah.
And we can't use them here in Ontario.
Yeah. So if I think I know what you're referring to, Tim, in terms of the winter packages that you see on the online Tesla store, I personally did that the first year I had a Tesla. I bought them off the Tesla store. But I don't think I would ever do that again, because you can get a lot more value for your money, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Than
Agree.
buying from the Tesla store. And I wasn't a huge fan of the Pirelli Sato 0 series of tires. So my advice to you would be save the money, get a better product. Just go to your local tire store.
Yeah. I have a recommendation if someone wants to know. someone cares to know.
I'm sure you do. Look, if anyone wants to go ahead.
I think last year we a bunch of us tried a particular tire recommended by our local tire guy here, and I have to tell you, every time I drive on them, I kind of shake my head, because they are the quietest, not winter tire, just quietest tire I've ever driven on. And they're winters, and they actually are fantastic in the winter. And as a price point, they're not crazy expensive, but they're also, I wouldn't consider them cheap either. But I do think they are by far the best winter tire I've ever used. And the Blitzaks were, in my opinion, from a grip perspective, were some of the best. But they're obviously, anyone who's used Blitzaks knows they're very loud, and they tend to wear away pretty quickly, right? Because of the way that the rubber compound works in those tires. But the Continental Viking 7s, absolutely best bang for the buck. And
that's what I have too.
The quietest tire you will ever use, like summer, winter, all season, 4 season. I've never seen a quieter tire.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It really is.
I really like them. That's what I'm using right now. Last winter, they were rock solid, and the value for your money on those tires is very high. Yeah. And if anyone lives in the GTA and they're looking for advice of where to go, just ping me, in the comments or something like that. Not in the live stream chat, but like in the comments on the video, and I'll get back to you. Obviously there's no any type of sponsorship here. Just there's a great place that I know where you can get a great deal, and I'm happy to share that with everybody. Okay.
And I know that there's a number of Tesla shops that when people ask the shops where to go for tires, if you don't want to buy Tesla tires, I know that the shop you're going to recommend is recommended by Tesla. By a bunch of other shops. So.
All right. So that's great. I think we spend a lot of time on tires. Happy to still answer questions if people have them, but let's move on to. Oh, it's good to be here, Mitchell. Let's move on to another topic, and we can always get back to tires.
There's a question for Dax by Raymond.
Is there?
Yeah. It says Dax, he's tried many brands of winter tires. Soco, Viking Contact, X-Ice.
We just had that up.
Oh,
Yeah.
Here you go.
That's okay. You didn't have your coffee before the show.
That's true.
All right. So I asked Dax before we started, Kevin, when he hears the words winter and Tesla, what are the first things that come to his mind? So I'm going to ask you the same question. What are the first things that come to your mind besides tires?
Lots of fun.
Lots of fun. Okay, that's in a different direction I didn't anticipate. Okay.
I very much enjoy driving my Tesla in the wintertime. It's actually not scary at all. I really enjoy it.
It is the best. Like, I'm not just saying this because it literally is the best vehicle I've ever driven in the winter.
Yes, not even close.
Yeah,
not even close.
I know. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, I was going to say it's very predictable, right? And it's just stable and predictable, it's just really great. Dax?
It is. And no, I agree with you. I echo that. But it's really weird because people ask me, like my friends and colleagues, non-Tesla owners, and just like we're saying here, right? It's the best, and we use all these superlatives. But I'm really hesitant to tell them that because I don't want to look like that in love fanboy that Tesla can do no wrong. I mean, many of my friends already think that, so I don't want to. I don't want to gush it too much. Yeah, thank you. So I try to tame it down by saying, "Yeah, it's great in the winter and stuff." But inside me wants to say, "If you drive anything else, you're an idiot." But I don't say that, right? I refrain myself from saying that. But it's true. Like I've driven a lot of different cars, different configuration cars in the winter. 2-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, 4x4. It's funny and it's really weird to say, but none of them compared to this.
Yeah, no, it's.
Can I just throw? Yeah, can I just throw something out?
Sure.
A little bit off topic, but I've heard this so many times. Every time I hear it, I cringe, and that is when someone says, "Oh, I have 4-wheel drive, so I don't need snow tires."
Oh.
And let me just, so for anyone listening out there, let me just sort of say something about this. Everyone has 4-wheel brakes, okay? So 4-wheel drive is great for starting, so getting you going usually. Snow tires help you stop. You have 4-wheel brakes, so I just don't like the excuse where people go, I don't need snow tires because I have all-wheel drive. I'm sorry, but all-wheel drive is not going to help anything.
Those are the cheap people.
Stop.
Yeah. When you're trying to stop.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, let's tackle a topic that I think everyone's going to be interested in, especially the new Tesla owners. Is what can you expect? I'm going to say it. What can you expect in winter in terms of range and range loss, and then what are the strategies for planning around that? Who wants to go first on that one? No, I'm saving that one for next. But who wants to start?
I'll start this one. So what I would say to all the new Tesla owners, there are things you can do that will help your range, and there are things that if you don't do will hurt your range, right? And so there is an element of control and responsibility on your behalf that will help you or hurt you, is the way I'll kind of start this one, right? Preconditioning, for those who haven't driven in the wintertime, preconditioning is number one. Absolutely, Dax. It is the number one thing you can do to minimize your range loss. Because
Kevin, for the new owners, what is preconditioning?
So preconditioning is, there's a couple of different ways you can achieve preconditioning.
That's something you put in your hair before the shampoo.
It's mousse.
Preconditioning is allowing the car to warm its battery up before you take it for a drive. Because where the range loss happens the most is when your car is trying to warm itself up, warm you up, and warm the battery up and keep it warm while you're driving. So the drain on the battery on all of those things at the same time is what, if you see some of these YouTubers that go, oh my God, I lost 30% of my range, right? it's usually because they're trying to start driving in a dead cold car. And, you can do that, but you will experience, a hefty amount of range loss, right? So there's a couple of different ways you can achieve preconditioning. One is through the scheduling. So if you schedule your car to have it ready for departure every day, if you go to work leave for work at 7:30, you can schedule it so that your car will have itself preconditioned and the cabin will be warm. And the great thing about scheduling is it's GPS based. So what that means for you guys is if you schedule it in your house, in your home for 7:30 a.m., and you can set it for weekdays or all week, it will do that predictably every single day. My wife teaches at a school, and it will precondition her car at 2:45 when she gets ready to leave school every day. And it's based on that GPS. So if she doesn't go to school that day, the car will not precondition itself at 2:45 because it is not at the school's location where the preconditioning was set up. So it's GPS based, right? And so a lot of owners don't realize that. And so you can always set the car to do it itself if you have a predictable schedule. Or if you don't have a predictable schedule, you can just simply turn on your heating elements through the app when you're getting ready to leave. It's really great from the perspective of not having to brush off your car or scrape your windows because the car will melt itself off. And it also does the battery a huge favor by preconditioning as well.
Let me just jump in because I know there's a lot of discussion about this every winter in preconditioning. Obviously, it's going to work best if you're plugged in, right? I mean, you can still precondition when you're not plugged in, correct?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. So, in terms of maximizing your range, whenever you can, right? If you can plug in and precondition, that way when you set about on your trip, you will be your battery will be up the optimal temperature, and your range loss. You may otherwise lose 40%, but maybe preconditioning you're going to lose 30% on those really, really cold days. But just to throw some numbers out there, when it's about 0 degrees Celsius, which is 32 Fahrenheit, typically the range loss isn't that great. It's maybe around 10%, right? It's not until you get into those minus 20 Celsius, which is God knows what in Fahrenheit. Somebody help me out here in the in the comments. Is it 8?
I'm guessing.
Minus 8 Fahrenheit? No, it's colder than that.
Hold on.
Anyhow, Dax will do the math while we're doing this. But anyhow, on those really cold days, right? This is where preconditioning can really save you some range because I'm not going to sugarcoat this.
-4.
-4 Fahrenheit? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Dax, you're pretty close. I stand corrected. But yeah,
I said +8.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
I never sugarcoat this, especially for the new owners, because I don't want them to have a bad experience once winter comes, right? So let's just be honest. You're going to get a lot of range loss when it's -20, right? Anywhere from 40% to 30%, depending on whether you preconditioned. And that's just the way it is, right? And you just have to plan around it. So what that means, if you're on a long trip, you might have to do an extra supercharging stop to compensate. But there's so many superchargers all over the place. Generally, I have never, ever run into an issue in the wintertime going anywhere, whether it's me going from Toronto to Montreal, which is 600 kilometers, or any other trip I've done in the winter.
So the point I point out to people when they ask me about this all the time is it's really only an issue if you're actually on a trip, because our cars have ranges of 4 to Model S 600 kilometers, right? And if you start at 90%, if you charge to 90%, or a lot of the Model 3s now go to 100% with the lithium iron phosphate batteries. So if you're charging to 90 or 100% every single day, even at a 40% range loss, you're looking at, 200 kilometer range, 250 kilometer range. Who's going to do that in a day if you're not on a trip? And so once again, your range loss might be big, especially on really, really cold days. But if you're not doing 250 kilometers in the day, you're not going to care, because you're going to get home, you're going to plug your car in, and you're going to start full every day. So,
all right, we have a question here, but that's a great point, Kevin. It's really not an issue unless you're on a trip, and 95% of the time you're not on a trip, right? You're just doing your daily business. Yeah. Okay. So how do you guys feel about the new setting, use brakes to stop when regen is low or unavailable due to cold weather? I'm not sure I've seen this yet. Have you
It
guys
just
seen
came
this?
out. Yeah, I just said it today, actually. Dax,
Oh,
you
really?
want
Okay.
you want to go first? I've been hogging the mic here.
No, you haven't been hogging it. No. I've since it came out, and yeah, you're right, it has come out recently. I've put it on. We haven't had many here in Southern Ontario, at least. We haven't had many cold days for it where I've noticed it's kicked in. Some early mornings when it's like in the last couple of weeks, it's been chilly, and I think it's coming. It's hard to tell because the brakes and the regen act so similarly. Now, if you haven't used your brakes in a while and you just used that one pedal driving in the regen, a good way to test is when you actually do press your brakes, you may hear a subtle little grinding noise and stuff like that. That's just debris or surface rust or something coming off your rotor, which is totally normal. Nothing's wrong with your brakes. Nothing's wrong with stopping. It's just when you don't use your physical brakes that often, that's tends to happen. That's why it's a good idea to press your brakes. But anyways, what I have noticed, and I guess Kevin, you just said you turned it on today,
Yeah.
and Paul, you haven't used it. I was going to ask you guys, but you probably wouldn't be able to tell. Like I said, I've had it on for a couple of weeks since I've had the update, and I've noticed that I'm not getting, when you have lack of regen because it's cold out and the battery is colder, the pack's colder, you get those little dots on the left hand side of your power bar. I'm not seeing. Like I said, some mornings for the past couple of weeks have been pretty chilly. That if I remember correctly, previous years I would see those little dots. I'm not seeing those dots now, so I don't know if it's because of the new car or if it's because
Interesting.
of that setting. It'll have to get a little colder, and I'll get back to you guys on that.
Yeah, definitely do.
I've been thinking about it, and I love the idea of the feature because for people who are not used to driving a Tesla, it allows the experience to be the same, whether it's cold or warm. All of us have to get used to the fact that when there's no regen, you're like, whoa, there's no regen, and all of a sudden, you gotta use the brakes, right?
Right through that stop sign.
Yeah, exactly. And so I really like the idea of this. I wonder if it will act the way that regen does. And so let me explain. So for those of you who've never experienced this, when you take your foot off the accelerator really hard and there's snow on the ground and the regen kicks in, if the regen detects the wheels slipping, the regen automatically lowers itself, right? And so to prevent the car from getting into a skid, which is brilliant and the way it should be. And I wonder, and I assume that Tesla thought of that because they thought of it with the regen, so they're thinking about it with the brakes as well. So that if your car starts sliding, so I guess what I'm thinking out loud here is whether or not this braking part of the call it fake regen will act the exact same way, right? Regen. Yeah. I was thinking about, as I turned it on, I was thinking about how that might work. I assume it's going to work the exact same way, but we'll find out this winter, I guess.
Yeah.
I think I'm hoping you're right, Kevin. I hope it works the same. And for people that aren't familiar with Teslas or EVs in general, because this is what this whole topic is about: people that are new to EVs and new to Teslas for the winter. If you drive the car for a few weeks, you'll get really used to the regen. I know a lot of people say when they first get it, "Oh, I don't like it. It feels really weird." That's just the people that don't like change, in my opinion. But when you do get used to it, you actually depend on it. Like Paul alluded to, where you may sometimes go right through a stop sign, expecting it to kick in by taking your foot off, and you've timed it properly, because it's all about timing after a while to get more familiar. And then it doesn't stop. But yeah, the people that are new to EVs or Teslas in general, it does take a little getting used to. But once you get used to it, you get very dependent on it.
Yeah, one pedal driving is by far.
It's great.
It is, like, anyone who wants to move their foot back and forth between the brake and the gas, I don't understand it. Like, seriously.
You can't go back once you go one pedal driving. Okay, we have another question here about do you have your brake pads checked and greased yearly because the road salt can rust the back of your pads?
2 years.
Yes,
I do it every 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. I never did it.
If you can afford to, and you're ultra sensitive about it, yeah, you could do it every year, especially if you're handy and you want to do it yourself and you put it up in your garage or something. Sure, but you probably only need it every year.
I think it's like $160. It's not very much.
No.
Yeah. I mean, periodically, I just slam on the brakes to keep it from,
I thought that,
doing
and
that.
I did the same thing with my 3-Paul, and I thought that
Yeah.
was it. A lot of people have told me, I'm no brake expert, but a lot of people told me, yeah, that's all you need to do, so the brakes don't seize or make that grinding sound and stuff like that. But there's actual pins,
sliders.
Yeah.
They're called sliders.
The sliders,
those things.
Yeah, and so the problem is slamming on the brakes will help grease the sliders, right? So
yeah. Okay, let's move on to another topic. We still got a few to go, and I've just got my eye on the time there. Okay, the next thing is, I think we need to bring this up, especially for the new Tesla owners out there who may have heard about the whole heat pump gate last year. Dax was like, "Oh, can't believe he went there."
We got to go there. We have to.
Yeah, we got to go there. We got to talk about this. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with that, so last year Tesla had a lot of problems with heat pump failures. So people would have no heat at minus 20 Celsius or something, or not even that cold. The heat would go, and apparently they fixed it with a software update. That was towards the end of the winter. I think it's going to be another test this year on whether or not the problem is actually solved. And so we could talk about some tips that may help you to prevent this if it's still an issue. So that's why I wanted to raise it. But before we kind of talk about some of the tips, Dax or Kevin, do you have anything to add about Heatgate?
Heatgate.
I had the 2 Teslas last year, both with resistive heating. So I'm no good on this one.
Okay.
I now have a 3rd one, and it is the new heat pump. So
cross your fingers, buddy.
Yeah,
cross your
fingers. I'm about to find out. So
but interesting, like before Dax chimes in, so I have 2 Model Ys. The first one is a 2020, the second one is a 2021, and the 2020 had the problem like 3 times last winter. So but the 2021, same conditions, parked the same way, used them a similar way, didn't have it. So to some people it was the luck of the draw. But go ahead, Dax, your thoughts on this?
No, I concur with you, Paul. I think it was the luck of the draw. I tried so hard last year to research it and try to pinpoint some kind of similarities to the ones that did it. I run a couple Facebook groups, so I had a lot of people in the group that had the issue, voice their experiences and displeasure and stuff like that. It was pretty dangerous, or it was potentially pretty dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
There was some stories of it being pretty cold when it went. Now, like you, Paul, my 2021, knock on wood, had no problems either. So my biggest fear now is, for anyone that doesn't know, I've got a new one, 2022, where it's an untested heat pump. So I'm anxiously but cautiously excited to see what happens. Well, almost not excited, but I'm wondering what's going to happen this winter, because like you said, Paul, they fixed it at the tail end conveniently, or they say they fixed it, but we were coming out of the winter, the temperatures were warming really quickly. We won't know till a good, anyone, you know what? It's probably going to get, I'd say in the next 3 or 4 weeks, because that's when it started last year, around mid to late October into November. Some parts of the country got really cold quick. So we'll see.
Okay.
I do remember one tip from a couple of people in our group, Paul, that had it. And they said it was less of an issue if they preconditioned. So when they preconditioned, they didn't experience the heat loss. If they tried to start the car cold, that's when they experienced the problem. So again, just not yet another reason to precondition, right? So
exactly.
Yes.
And it, you know what? That part of it makes sense. Think of it. You've got a car that you're getting into and you're driving, and it's dead cold in some conditions where it's like minus 20, like you were saying, Paul, and you're
Yes.
taxing the crap out of that. Some people may argue and say, what, the heat pump should work. They should have tested it. That should have been part of the cold weather testing, and it should work in those conditions. But you know what? If you could, my theory on any kind of mechanics, electronics, or anything, if you can avoid taxing your equipment as much as you can, if it just stretches out the lifespan and elongates the longevity of the car or anything, why wouldn't you? I mean, people that don't precondition are just, in my opinion, lazy.
Yeah,
it doesn't excuse that it
no,
it should just work, right? Like, but yes, I mean, if there are things that we can do, and Kevin mentioned, the preconditioning. I know he's the preconditioning king. He should wear a crown. Oh, you are okay. You guys can do a
religious
sword fight or something.
My wife, we get into
don't do a sword
about
fight.
No sword. I don't have a sword. Sorry, buddy. Oh, Paul.
Sorry. Okay. So Kevin mentioned one tip there, which is the preconditioning. There's another tip too that I've heard is parking it in the garage if you can. If you have a garage, park your Tesla in there. In your garage, even if it's not insulated, when temperatures go that cold, it can still be about 10 degrees warmer in your garage than it is outside, and you don't have the wind either, which is kind of causing your battery to kind of get wind frozen, if you will, too. So park it in the garage if you can, precondition if you can, but we'll knock on wood and say yes, the fix worked, but we won't really know until it gets colder.
The other point, guys, is that for the most part, heat pumps weren't really designed for extreme climates either, right? So heat pumps do their best work above minus 20, and as become exponentially less effective as you go, because if you know the concept, it pulls warm air out of the atmosphere, right? And when it's that cold, there's not a lot of warm air going around, right? So they are less effective, but to the point, they should work. They should still work, maybe just a little less effective, but they should work when it's really cold. The other point is that I think there's a lot of people maybe on this forum who are from out west who will tell you that minus 20 is not cold.
Yeah,
that's an average day in Calgary, right? That's an average winter day in Calgary, and I think it got some stupid like minus 47 or minus 50 last year in Edmonton or Calgary, somewhere out there.
And in Saskatchewan as well, right?
Yeah.
Probably the same for like Minnesota or North Dakota or wherever, right? So we'll start seeing reports out of these places for sure if there is a problem, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so those are your tips for making sure if there still is a heat pump issue that you can mitigate that a little bit. The other thing that made news, well, it makes news every year, let's be honest, is the door handles freezing. So let's talk about this one, because my opinion on it is it's not a huge deal. The car is not like a porcelain doll. I just give it a whack on the door handle, and I've never had a problem. But that being said, I mean, there's people who have tweeted that they've had serious issues getting their door open in the wintertime. Any thoughts, you guys, on what
never had an issue with my door handles ever. I've had a Tesla since 2017 and never had an issue ever. The one time I think I got caught in freezing rain where I had a layer of ice over it. To your point, I just knocked the ice off and then used the door like it was meant to be used. I don't understand the people that can't get in their cars when the door handles freeze. I don't understand it, to be honest. Yeah,
I even tweeted, I think it was last year, a short video of me just after an ice storm just banging on the handle, and it's like I think the biggest tweet I've ever had, right? Which is, it's really not a big deal. It's not a porcelain doll. You just whack it, and chances are the handle will release. Dax?
Nothing to add, guys.
Nothing to add? Oh, that's very unusual, Dax. Okay, that's the door handles. What else do we want to cover today?
I think he was afraid of when you started talking about whacking it. I think you were afraid of going down that road. So
oh, don't go there.
Swords and whacking it. And what are we doing?
What is this? A show for men? Okay.
I apologize to the ladies.
Yes. Let's go back to charging and again, optimizing your charging. Now we mentioned preconditioning, but there's also another. I'm not sure if it's also called preconditioning, but it's when you in your navigation you select to a Tesla supercharger. It also preconditions the battery. Uh, Kevin, do you want to talk? Because I think you're the expert on this. Do you want to talk about the differences there and why you should put in your navigation to the supercharger location?
Yeah, so it's super important. Super important to give your car enough time to warm its battery because what will happen is the supercharger or the car will limit itself. If the battery is not warm enough to prevent itself from being damaged, it will lower your supercharging rates. And so you roll up to a supercharger cold. I don't know, maybe you get 40 kilowatts. I don't know, something like stupid like that. What I've found is the car needs at least 20 to 25 minutes of driving to go from dead cold to a decent rate, supercharging rate, right? I mean, I'm used to driving my Model X, so it has a different kind of warming system for the battery than the 3 and the X does. But I think, 20 to 25 minutes of driving, and I know that the 3 and the X also have a waste heat sort of from the motors that heats the battery as well. So driving is, instead of just sitting there and punching in the supercharger and just waiting, driving really, really helps speed up the warming of that battery. So, but I have got full charge. I have got a full 250 kilowatt charging session on a V3 on one of my Model 3s when it was minus 15 out. So
yeah,
it is possible.
And let's just explain to the new Tesla owners out there how you do this. It's as easy as in your navigation to just select the Tesla supercharger you're going to. Or if you've selected a destination that's far away and Tesla realizes you'll have to charge midway or at some other point during the journey, it'll automatically do it for you. You don't have to do anything else. But this will get your battery to the optimal temperature to accept a charge. Dax?
Yeah, I was just going to add to it because I've had some people in my groups complain saying that, oh, you know what, I wanted to go to, I put in the mall where the supercharger is, and it didn't precondition it. I guess it didn't need it. But what I'll remind people is, don't just put the address in or the location of where you're going to. Like Paul says, on your map, on the navigation screen, on the far right-hand side, if you touch anywhere on the map, on the right-hand side, another list of down the side will come up. And one of those icons, I think there's 4 or 5 icons. One of those icons is a lightning bolt. You hit that lightning bolt, or don't hit it. You can hit it if you want, but touch it. Yeah, whack it. And all your nearby locations for supercharging will come up. You select it from there. If you don't select the supercharging location from there, it won't precondition. I've noticed. So,
all right, Kevin, you got a question? You on mute?
Sorry, you should get a message along the top that says preconditioning for supercharging or something like that.
Yeah, on the Y and the 3, it's near the bottom.
Yeah.
Mine is you're weird because you're next.
Yeah. So here's a question for you, Kevin. They're calling you out.
Calling you out
for questions.
Read it out, Paul. Read it out.
Okay. Kev, do you find sometimes that precondition's too early, like you're still far away from supercharger and it starts to precondition?
Yeah, I have. Actually, most recently, I saw a message pop up when I was about 40 kilometers away from a supercharger. I was on the highway and it showed me the message when I was about 40 kilometers away. I was kind of happy, to be honest with you, Raymond. I was kind of happy about it because I was like, ooh, for sure, I'm going to get the best, like the maximum charging rate I'm going to get out of this thing because the battery's going to be at, optimal temperature. Because I don't think it takes too much for the car once it gets to optimal temperature to keep it there, right? So I think the tough part is getting it there. So I actually didn't mind the fact that it preconditions a little early.
There is an extension to this, which is that the act of preconditioning for that optimal charge rate actually uses energy.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it does.
And I don't know if after a certain point it will stop preconditioning to conserve battery, but I've definitely been in a situation where I'm like, I don't know, like it's really coming down with the preconditioning. I don't know if you've experienced that.
Yeah, I have. I'm just, you know what? As long as it doesn't go to zero, I think it's juice well spent, right? Like, who
Yeah,
cares? Who
yeah,
cares if you get there at like 11% versus 5%? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, maybe your heart cares about it, but you know, I never really cared about it. So.
Well, let's talk about range anxiety then in the winter. I think that's a good segue. I mean, I know me, like as far as my lack of range anxiety, because I don't have any, is that I know like 99.9% of the places I go to are like well serviced by Tesla superchargers, right? So it's never really been a concern of mine. I don't mind pulling over for 20 minutes and charging. But that being said, I mean, some people do travel to areas where maybe there's only level 2 or something like that. I think you did that not in the winter, but you did that this summer, right, Dax? Any thoughts or strategies around
Yeah, no,
planning?
yeah, you're right. I did it when I went out east this summer, and anything past Moncton, New Brunswick, going into Nova Scotia, and if you're up around Cape Breton or anywhere
That's near Maine, folks.
in
For
Newfoundland,
our American
you're not
friends.
going to get any superchargers. Yeah, Paul's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just choking there. But no, I didn't have any range anxiety. Even when I got off the ferry, with I think what 31%, and I had to go from where the ferry is in Argentia, Newfoundland, to St. John's, and I think it was 100. I want to say 150-ish kilometers. I made it no problem. It first started off by saying the car would get there with 3%, and my wife was looking at me like, really, we're gonna do this? And then as I kept driving, it went up to 5%. I ended up stopping just because for lunch anyways, but we didn't need to. We could have got there with 5%. What I found on that trip is even when I wanted to come down lower, to, like Kevin said earlier, to get a better charge, because the lower you are, you get a better, faster charge, and it's preconditioned and stuff like that. I found these cars are so efficient that even if it says 10% and you're on a long road trip, don't be surprised. And of course, I'm not being conservative. I got my whole family in the car, so I'm not driving like a maniac either. But I'm not driving conservative. I'm doing the speed limit, 10 over, 15 over the speed limit, whatever comfortable flow of traffic is. So I'm not hypermiling it by any stretch. But I found so many times on that trip, I was getting better gas. Yeah, I almost said gas. Better mileage than what it first started out to say. It improved. The car was so efficient. You can say that for a lot of Teslas.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I get that question all the time. It's literally the first question asked of me is are you afraid of running out of electricity? And my answer is, I don't even think about it, because if you tell most Tesla owners, they know this already. If you've had the car even for a couple of weeks, if you tell the car what you're doing, there's no guessing, right? It's kind of math. It's all math, and the car is really quite accurate. I found, to the point Dax made, that if it's going to error, usually it errors on the side of being overly conservative, unless you're a maniac and you're doing doing 130, 140 down the highway. Well, but what I also found is that the range estimator is actually really good. So if you have traveled, say side roads, and then you jump on the highway, your your energy usage is going to be different. And so what you're going to want to check is, until the computer can adjust for the new speed, I like using the range app in the car and just watch over the first 10, 25 kilometers to see what the estimated range is at that new speed before the computer adjusts, right? And so and usually it'll say, oh, at this speed your range is 175 kilometers and your destination is 120. I'm like, okay, it's fine, right? You got an extra 50 kilometers to play with. Maybe I jack it up by 5 kilometers an hour or something like that, right? But the car is really good at telling you what to do. If you're smart enough to listen to it, I don't think you'll have a problem. If it tells you can't go there, well, you pretty much got to find another way to get there, right? And start looking at public charging, which is always a dicey proposition. But if you go by what the car says, I doubt you'll ever find yourself in a problem.
Trust the car. Trust it.
I trust but verify. That's just the kind of guy I am. I think that a couple of points that I want to pick up on here is one, to Kevin's point, the range estimations have gotten way better than they were back in the day. And for any of the new Tesla owners out here, like the pro tips are that the principles are very similar to a gasoline powered vehicle, right? If you want more range or you need more range, slow down, right? Or if it's windy, slow down. Or if you're predominantly going uphill, slow down. Like the principles are the same, right? In terms of maximizing your range. So just a couple of pro tips there to kind of help you manage that. And the mindset is not very different from a gasoline powered vehicle.
So Paul, there's a couple of questions I think we should address.
Okay.
One is, and it's kind of a two-part question. Julio is saying the new CCS adapter takes care of other locations now, so there's many more options. But then
that is true.
Right underneath, it's like the biggest challenge, the reliability of third-party charging stations, right? And so Paul knows my my stance on this. And one of the things I always say is, there's a lot of really great electric cars coming out, Lucid, Rivian, even the Ford Lightning, some of the cars coming out of the Korean cars are really good.
Sorry, I just muted Kevin. There's some mic noise there. Let's see.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, you just got some mic noise there.
Okay.
Sounds like someone's sweeping in the background.
Yeah, or something. So, okay.
No, can I just echo what he was saying, and then we can move on?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I know what he's saying, and I agree with Kevin. Just nod your head if I'm saying the right thing, Kev. Yeah, you know what? The third-party charge, like he said, a lot of good cars out there. It's a shame because the third-party public charging infrastructure, it's not there yet. And you want to talk about anxiety? I never had any range anxiety. What the anxiety I had, and I don't even know if it's a term, maybe I'm just coining it now, it's charging anxiety. Getting to a third-party public charger and A, hoping and wishing that A, it's going to work, B, that there's nobody else there, and C, that there was a C, but I forgot. But those are the two big things. A, making sure it works, and B, making sure that nobody else is there, because then you have to stand in behind them and wait.
I think
I once had a Chevy Bolt owner want to fight me because I was plugged into a CHAdeMO.
No kidding, really?
I kid you not. He was angry that I was using the public chat of the system when you Tesla people have your own chargers. Why are you using my charger, right? I was coming at Canadian Tire, and the guy basically said, why are you plugged into this? And I'm like, because my car's electric and I'm paying for it, same as you. And he's like, we have no chargers. And this guy was driving a Chevy Bolt. This was about 3 years ago. And he's like, we have no chargers, and you guys have your whole own network. Why are you using this, right? So I turned around and went back into Canadian Tire.
Yeah. Fortunately, that is, that's something that's fairly rare. I mean, you see it in some articles that pop up because it's fairly sensational, right? When these things happen. I've had people want to fight me at gas pumps too. So I don't know. People are
crazy
just
people everywhere.
Right? Yeah. So, oh boy, where do we go from here now?
There's another question there, Paul, from Tim about the roof boxes. I think he says, does the range calculator account for things like a roof box? And I guess you could say for a bike rack too. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Depending on the size of your roof.
So that's a slight correction though, Dax, slight correction. It doesn't up front, but once you get going, it'll account for the drag. And so very quickly, I would say very quickly, within 10 or 15 kilometers, it will recalculate for the extra drag, and it will account.
That's true, because when I'm trailing something, it does do that. So that's a really great point.
The other thing is, guys, there's an app that you can use in your browser called Tesla Waze. You can just Google it. It's called Tesla Waze. And one of the things I love about it, other than showing where the cops are, is it gives wind direction and speed. So it's got this compass that goes around your car and has a direction of the wind. So you can see if it's a headwind, a side wind, a tailwind. And then down the bottom right-hand corner, it gives you the speed, and it updates with every weather station you drive by. So you're getting a constant feed of the change in wind direction. So if you're wondering if you're like, man, I feel like I'm not getting good range or something like that, you can actually see what kind of headwind you're running into, because really strong headwinds will make a difference, especially if you're towing something, you've got a roof box or something like that, right? So
Yeah, that must have gone a lot better, because I remember last year or the year before I looked into that, and it was okay, but it left a lot to be desired. But the new update, I think earlier this summer, not the newest one, I think a couple updates ago, Tesla's actually put those other key elements in as a factor when calculating for like wind and stuff like that and climate.
not the
They
cops.
never had before. I think they had elevation. That was about it. But now they've added other variables, which is good. It's very, like Kevin says and Paul says, the calculations are very, very accurate.
Yeah. Okay. We've covered a lot of ground so far. So I want to make sure that, especially if there's any new Tesla owners who are watching, if you have any questions for us, we'd love to answer them for you. If not, we'll just keep the discussion going for a little while longer. It looks like we're tackling some really good subjects here. So just throwing that out there, don't hesitate to ask us a question. That's what we're here for. We love helping. That's why we do this. Okay.
Can we address Stackus 12 his question? Because I'm sorry, I just can't leave that one hanging out there.
Which one is?
You and I both hate the
Soda. Oh
yes,
yes.
The verses.
It's a big no from me for the Soda Zero.
Sodas, they're bad. The Continental Viking 7s all the way.
Yeah, it's not even a fair fight on that in my experience. I've owned them both.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Me too.
Okay. Let me look at the list that I have here, make sure that we didn't miss anything. Okay, we talked about tires. What's that?
No, I'm listening to you. I'm saying while you do that, thank you, Trevor. Big shout out to you. Thank you very much. It was further up.
Okay. Sorry, I must have missed something.
Before I forgot. Okay. No, it wasn't a question. It was just a comment.
Oh, Raymond's got a great question.
Okay.
Does trickle charge?
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Yes.
To that. Yeah.
Yeah. You actually lose range because even if the car is off, it still tries to keep the battery from falling too low of a temperature, and so sometimes it uses more energy than a 110 volt outlet will put out. So. Okay.
Yeah, that's my experience too, because when it drops really low in the temperature, the car will use energy to keep the battery from going below a certain temperature. And that,
like when you start first preconditioning, you could use like up to 40 amps. You use
absolutely.
like 40 amps, and those wall outlets they put out what was the maximum 12 amps or something, 15 amps for a wall outlet.
Yeah. I do want to get to let's cover a couple more quick questions here, and then I do want to get to the last topic that was on my list, which is about sleeping in your Tesla in the wintertime, because I think it's a fun little topic, and there's lots of use cases for doing that. So let's just kind of go through a couple of questions here, and then we'll talk about that. Okay, what about winter wipers for stock ones? I've only ever used the stock ones. What about you guys?
Me too. Just stock, and they've been absolutely fine for me.
Dax?
Oh, you're
on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, I think I was not on mute, and when I went to talk, I muted myself in reverse.
That sounds like a you thing.
Yeah, that sounds like me. I too have only used the stock ones. I was on a hunt about maybe 2.5 years, maybe 3 years ago, when I had my 3 for a good set of winter ones, because the stock ones are good and they work, but there could be better ones out there. Anyways, long story short, I looked up and down. I couldn't find. Now this was 3 years ago, mind you. So maybe between now and then they've made it. I couldn't find a wiper. I found many wipers in the right size, and they were supposed to be good wipers. I never got a chance to try them out. Supposed to be good winter wipers, but I couldn't find a perfect adapter for the Tesla arm. So I'm sure by now they've probably have it. But Yeah, you know what? The first year or two, the wipers are fine, and then as they trail off, then you might want to look
Yeah,
into other
just
stuff.
use stock ones. Like I find the stock ones fine. That kind of dovetails into this next question here, which is the Tesla wiper washer system. I've never had a problem, and I've owned 4 Teslas. They've all been rock solid, cleaning the windshield, even in the toughest conditions.
I have to say the Model X with the heated wipers and the hollow blades that shoot out juice in holes perforated along the arm. I have to say is I don't know why they don't do it for every Tesla, because it is just next level, man.
Yeah,
You just reminded me of that. I'm actually looking forward. I never thought I'd ever say that. Looking forward to this winter when I can actually use the heated wipers. It's a new function on my 2022. See
nice.
how that'll work. I know it's not physically the wipers that are heated, but
Yeah, it heats
where
up
they
the juice.
sit.
It heats the juice up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it heats the juice, but it also where it's sitting.
Oh yeah,
where the wiper
bar.
blade sits.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. So you don't get the ice at the bottom.
Yeah.
We have a question here. We kind of covered this at the beginning around the frozen windows and door handles. The door handles, just pop them. It should be fine. I have heard of people using stuff like WD-40. Do you guys have any further thoughts on this one?
No, the rubber seals. There's a thing about the rubber seals. I found myself doing it the first winter because somebody had mentioned it, and I went and I got some kind of liquid silicone, and it came with this little sponge applicator, and I went around and I did it, and I had no problem. I don't know if it was because I did it or if I wouldn't have had a problem anyways, and it was just snake oil. But I tried it. But that was the one time I ever used it. I never used it since, and my 3 cars that I've had, I haven't had any issues.
Okay.
Yeah, me
Cool.
either. I've never had issues.
Well, you
All right.
you shouldn't, Kevin. Look at you. You're in a warm climate year round like
That's
that.
right.
With palm trees
I'm freezing. Look at
Yeah,
this behind
Paul,
me, man.
Paul.
This is like,
Yeah.
I thought it'd be funny showing palm trees when we're having a show about winter. So
okay, let's get on to the last topic, which I think is a fun topic, which is sleeping in your Tesla and what to expect as far as your energy consumption overnight. There's lots of use cases for this. Whether you're traveling, between cities or something, and you want to save the money, or you're just going to pull over for a few hours to sleep, whatever it happens to be. It's great because you can do this in an electric vehicle, not worry about the exhaust fumes. And the Tesla has some great features that actually kind of help you here. It's got like what's it called, camp mode or something like that. Camp mode. Nice fireplace that comes up. It's really, really nice.
Romantic.
And I've done, romantic if you've got a certain somebody. So I've slept in my model. I've slept in all 4 of the Teslas I've had: Model X, Model 3, Model Y. And it's great. So on the coldest days, like I did a really, really cold, I was almost minus 30. I think it was minus 27 Celsius, whatever that is in Fahrenheit. And it used, if memory serves me correct, it used about 20 or so kilowatts of energy. Did I say that right? Kilowatt hour? Right? No, kilowatt.
You had a good memory.
Yeah. So, but my point here is that this is a new thing that you can do with your car in the winter if you have an EV. It's not just Tesla, but Tesla's got some specific features that enable this. So what are your thoughts, Kevin? Have you slept in your Tesla? You're on mute.
See, it's not just me.
Dax, you're rubbing off on me.
You did it before me, buddy.
I haven't slept in my Tesla, but I have gotten in a number of arguments with people because of that big Virginia highway winter storm, and that let's just say that uninformed, unintelligent individual that went on and said, see, if this highway was full of electric cars, we'd be here for months, because how would we get rid of all those cars, right?
They're just trolls, Kevin.
Yeah,
just trolls.
And the fact of the matter is, we all know that, we could be there for days with the HVAC system in the electric cars. They last for pretty much ever. Based on the size of the batteries that those cars have and the HVAC usage, man, you could get by for a very, very long time. So sleeping in your car, no brainer. It's a no brainer.
Yeah. I remember that last year, and there's a bunch of YouTube videos that actually disproved it, and to Kevin's point, showed that it's equal to a gas car. But the new one, if you think that triggered you, buddy, there's a new article about electric cars and Teslas down in Florida with the hurricane that just passed by there that are all spontaneously busting into flames because they're all got waterlogged. So,
Oh
But
boy.
that didn't happen though.
I know, but there's a fire chief in Florida that came out saying this is our biggest problem now. Really, that is your biggest problem? You just had a hurricane, and that's your biggest problem?
That
Going
sounds
after
like somebody
EVs?
being paid by big oil. or
Exactly.
something. That's just totally unbelievable. We can quickly.
But anyways, I digress.
Yeah.
Getting back to the, I've slept in my car too a handful of times, and always to the weird looks from my wife, wondering what the hell am I doing, or she thinks what did she do? But yeah, it's quite enjoyable. It's funny you say that, Paul, and you bring up this topic because a friend of mine at work, he was telling me he may be watching this either now or later. It's funny because his wife, they have a Y, and his wife works downtown, and sometimes late at night and early in the morning, and he was telling her, you should sleep in the car, and explaining to her how to do it and everything, and it would be perfect for her. And I think she's actually going to try it. I think he was looking into getting her a Dreamcast, and I said, save your money on a Dreamcast. You can buy a cheaper one, but and she should be just as comfortable. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I have one of those. You can. It doesn't take up too much space, and you can roll it out when you need it, and it's great. I mean, if you ever need to do it, at least that even in the coldest of temperatures, as long as you're not running on empty on your battery, you're going to be fine to sleep the night and do it in a very comfortable way, even without the special
Mattresses.
Well, not mattresses, but I was thinking about what Tesla Bjorn does, and he covers his windows
Yeah.
insulation. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you have that insulation, use it, but you don't really.
He's in
need
Norway.
It.
He's in Norway, man.
Yeah, he
That's
has
true.
to.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And for those guys who spend a lot of time in the doghouse with their better half, it's great to have a Tesla.
That's right, because
Absolutely, yeah.
That's your hotel room for the night.
I speak for experience.
We know you do, Kevin.
Maybe I should name my car the Doghouse.
Hey guys, I want to mention one thing while we're talking about winter. I just got back from Alaska for a family trip. I still have my shirt on. And you know what? I was surprised. I was shocked, literally shocked at how many specifically Teslas there were in Alaska, but generally electric cars. Like there were a huge number of electric cars, and I don't know why I think this, but amazing. I thought that would be the last place that I would see electric cars, specifically Teslas, for sure. And there were a ton. There were an absolute ton. I think someone posted in the chat somewhere that there's a new supercharger somewhere in Anchorage or something like that. But which doesn't surprise me now that I know, because I would have thought there's no Teslas there, right? But I was very, very surprised.
Well, that's awesome, because ultimately, the end game is to get as many EVs on the road as possible, right?
Yeah.
And in as many places as possible. So that's really cool to hear.
And the thinking is that, you know what, if a ton of people in Alaska rely and live with Teslas, what the hell are we complaining about here in Toronto, right? Like, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's just throw it out, see if there's any questions that we can answer. And
Raymond's got a good one on auto climate control.
Oh, I must have missed that one. Right here. Okay. Does auto climate control work well for everyone, usually for defogging, etc. in winter, or do you guys have to manually control your climate? I usually set mine and forget it.
Yeah. I never touch. I leave it on auto. It used to be. They used to be really bad. A couple of years ago, I would say I would have to intervene because my windows would fog up sometimes, and I don't know, and just for out of the blue. But they do these continual software updates, and they get better and better. And I found that the auto setting works. I literally don't touch it.
That being said, there is one thing that's supposed to be auto that I touch all the time, which is the auto wipers, but we could probably do a whole show on auto wipers.
I don't use the auto wipers. They don't work. They don't work.
Yeah. Okay. Let's not go there.
No, the auto. Yeah, I'm like you guys. I set it and forget it. My wife tends to put it on manual and it drives me nuts. And, you know, I mean, when she's driving, who am I to say I'm not going to be a control freak? So I like it in auto. And the other reason I actually had brought it up to her last winter is because getting back to that whole heat pump scandal thing, problem, issue, whatever you want to call it.
Pumpgate?
Pumpgate. Heatgate?
Pumpgate.
Something gate. Pumpgate sounds rude.
Yeah, it does. Let's call it Heatgate.
Heatgate. Yeah, there were some people that were saying, and once again, nothing was proven last year. There was a lot of speculation and theories. Nothing was concrete. But some people said that they found that it happened more for people that didn't have it in auto and had it on manual. I don't know if they were cranking it to like 10 the whole entire time, like manually, and leaving it on that, and it taxed the system. I don't know, but like I said, nothing's proven or was proven, but just keep it in auto. The car knows what to do. And some people complain that it fogged up in auto. Well, if it's fogging up in auto, then I would check your winter mats to see if there's too much moisture in the mats, or your liners or something, if you've got a puddle or something. Because if they're heating up and you're still in auto, then you've got some kind of spill or some kind of excessive moisture in your car.
And Dax is an expert.
Was I muted the whole time there?
No. I was going to say Dax is an expert on excessive moisture, but we'll leave that one there.
Oh, Kevin.
Okay. All right.
That's a good one.
That's probably a good place to end it then.
Place to end it. The happy
Yeah,
ending.
I like to keep these to an hour and 15 minutes or so. But we're always around. Like, even if you have questions afterwards, if you're watching this and it's not live, you're just watching it later, just post questions in the comments, and one of us will kind of monitor that and happy to answer any of your questions, especially the new Tesla owners out there. As I mentioned, this is the third straight year that we've done this topic around this time. And we want to make sure that especially the new Tesla owners have a great experience this winter. So if we can help in any way, that's what we're here for. So I appreciate everybody joining, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you so much. Actually, before we do that, Dax, where can people find you?
Oh, at my house, sir.
I meant on the internet.
Oh, you can find me on YouTube at DaxM. That's my YouTube channel. A video dropping tomorrow about part 2 of my East Coast trip. But like Paul's saying, yeah, I find every time around this year in my Facebook groups, if you're brave enough to still have Facebook and you're not part of the Facebook group, just search for if you have a Tesla Model 3, it's Tesla Model 3 Canadian group. If you have a Y, it's Tesla Model Y Canadian group. And join, answer all the questions, else the robot that monitors won't let you, won't approve you and admin. What's the word I'm looking for? Admit you into the group. Yes, admit you into the group. And there's tons of people in there to answer your newbie questions. The only thing I'll ask is, if you do that, there's a search feature in Facebook. One of the positive things about Facebook, it actually is pretty good. Use the search feature, because if you're thinking about it, it may already have been asked 100 times. So do a search, and if you can't find it in the search, then post your question, and there's a lot of people that will help you answer your question.
Okay, fantastic. And Kevin, where can we find you?
I am
on a beach.
I'm exclusively on your channel. If I'm not on the beach with a couple of mojitos in my hand.
Yeah, that sounds good. And
folks, in a leather coat.
Yeah.
And folks, if you enjoyed this live stream and you thought it was helpful, please by all means hit that subscribe button. It really does help. And I thank you so much for doing that. We will catch you on the next one. Electric Canuck and team, over and out.
Bye.
Bye.